You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue radio.world.
Welcome back to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I had to do that. I love that promo. This is our Friday edition of the impact of the coronavirus on South Seattle and surrounding communities. If you're just joining, we earlier had a conversation with the Mayor of Bremerton, Mayor Greg Wheeler. There was an outbreak there at St. Michael's Hospital. 45 positive cases, 30 of them worked in the hospital, 15 were patients. And so obviously that's a situation that needs to be addressed. And we appreciate Mayor Wheeler joining us and giving us open, honest, frank conversation. Just recently, just before we went to break, the Seattle Public Schools Superintendent Denise Juno joined us, and we learned a little bit more about what's going to be in place for this year, what parents can expect. Again, if things aren't working out, all you got, just because you need to know this, all you have available to you at this point will be a hotline. And how that's going to work, I don't know. So just do what you can now to try to find out information. Again, there's supposed to be information mailed out to you that you should get next week. I know school starts on the 4th for some, but this first week, again, a soft opening or start opening. So there'll be some flexibility. School will be 2 hours a day. And then some time to work on some of this other stuff. We'll get some more answers for you there. And joining us on the program now, the director of the Department of Early Education, Department of Education and Early Learning, Mr. Dwane Chappelle. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm under the circumstances, fantastic. And then I believe also both from Seattle Parks. Lori, are you from Seattle Parks?
Yes, I am.
That's what I thought. I know you're from South Seattle.
Yes.
And then also my man, Mr. Damien Hicks as well. Damien, how are you doing, sir?
I'm wonderful, sir. Thank you for asking.
Well, good. We got some stuff that we're going to be talking about here. Fall childcare, in-person teen hubs. With school online, this changes the game for a lot of folks. And if it's impacting you, you know that this is a big deal. If preschool is something that you count on, then you want to know what's going on for a couple of reasons. It might be a child care situation. And then the other thing is what type of learning. We know that at this particular point in time, the brain is the most amazing learning machine that it will ever be. And during these years, from birth to 5, it's critical that the synapses connect. I think it's 90% of the brain development is done by the time a child is 5 years old. And so there is this thing called pre-K and early learning, which is critical and which is important. And so we're going to start with that. And there were some modifications made to the Seattle preschool program for the 2020-2021 school year in response to COVID-19. And Mr. Chappelle, we'll start with you. Let's talk about those modifications.
Yeah, thank you. So the Seattle preschool program is currently open right now for fall enrollment with modified programming, as you mentioned. And I definitely just want to start by just saying, as a proud father of young children, I know the importance of making sure that our 3 and 4-year-olds have access to high quality preschool and making sure that they're ready for kindergarten, ultimately to make sure to build a solid foundation for their entire education. And we know how important these early years are.
We know that they're critical, and I don't want to just glance over that. And I know that you know where I'm coming from. We know that we have information, and we know that we can it's even fiscal, the impact that if you're not prepared for kindergarten, then you are less likely to graduate. You're more likely to get into problems. And we can see this in kindergarten. And those first years are critical, important. I think that we've done a good job in the last decade or so of raising awareness to the impact of those. But, Dwane, I just had to hit it again.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And You're absolutely right. So, our Seattle Preschool program provides high quality curriculum that's basically accessible and affordable, and it helps eliminate this kindergarten readiness gap, right? So some of starting in the fall, our Seattle Preschool program providers are going to operate under basically three program models. They'll have in-person, they're going to have 100% remote, or it'll be a hybrid, which is, a combination of both. But I do want to say that the remote learning will be family directed with supports from our programming. A little bit more, our Seattle Preschool program is going to serve about 1,900 kids, or should I say more than 1,900 kids. More than 60% of our 1,900 kids are going to receive full-time or in-person preschool services. And I'm just roughly estimating about 36% will receive preschool remotely with program supports that will be directed from family directed learning. And I'll just pause there for a moment because I do know you want to ask a few other questions.
Okay, and let's talk about this for folks. The tuition for the Seattle Preschool program is calculated on a sliding scale, and that's kind of based on household income and family size. And historically, most families that qualify for free tuition. Is anything changing there for families who are paying tuition, or anything that folks need to know about the cost of this?
Yes, tuition will be free or reduced this year. So it'll be free for remote Seattle Preschool program participants, and it'll be 50% for in-person or hybrid. And we're intentionally, we are very intentional about making Seattle Preschool program affordable for families. As you mentioned, the tuition is determined based on the household income. Majority of our families qualify for preschool or for free preschool. That's roughly about 68%. And families, 100% remote programs, such as our largest partner in SPS, will also have free tuition. And then the in-person and hybrid programs will be 50% off this year in consideration of the modified programs and possible interruptions this fall. And our in-person preschool actually will operate under, and I think you know this, but I just want to make sure that families understand how important and critical that and serious we're taking it, that our in-person preschool is going to operate under the current public health guidelines from, the Washington Department of Health.
And, I should have did this on the front end, Dwane. I jumped right into it, but I'll do it now. Give us a little bit of information on yourself and your background.
I am. I'm a community member. I live here in the Rainier Beach area, and I attended, before I even go to where I attended, I'm former proud principal of the Rainier Beach High School, South End, Seattle. And prior to there, I am a historically Black college graduate, Grambling State University in Louisiana.
All right. And joining us, and I'll start with Lori. Lori, how are you? Lori Chisholm.
I'm doing great and appreciate so much the opportunity to speak to the community on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Well, this time I'm going to do it on the front end. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then also what you're doing with Seattle Parks. But let's start with a little bit of information on your background.
Great. I moved to Seattle in 1987 from Oregon, and after getting a teaching degree in K-12 education, so have always been passionate about how education can help propel our youth forward in life, and have now worked for Seattle Parks and Recreation for 31 years, doing a variety of things from managing community centers to now managing our out-of-school time programs, which includes preschool through middle school age youth. And also am a proud community member here in the Rainier Valley, and glad to be here.
All right. And I got a couple questions for you, but I don't want to keep Damien waiting too long. So, Damien, I want to bring you on as well. And why don't we start with the same thing? Give us a little background information about yourself and then about what you do at Seattle Parks.
Well, I am a proud resident of the Rainier Beach area as well. A proud father of 8 children who go to school in Southeast Seattle, 1 coming out of Mercer and 2 at Cleveland High School. Graduate of Washington State University, proud community member and community advocate. I've been with Parks and Recreation in some variation working with youth for the last 23 years.
And I know, Damien, and I know the commitment that you have to making sure that there are educational opportunities, man. So I just appreciate what you do. And everybody in South Seattle, that's cool.
It is.
Especially for Rainier. Well, let's talk about and Lori and Damien. You, either one of you can pop in. Both of you can. Things are different. There was after school programs. Of course, it's because there was this thing called being in school. And they were critical parts of learning after school and served a number of different purposes. Living COVID life. Can you talk about how that changed and how it impacts the work that you do and the work that you're going to do in this upcoming year?
Absolutely. I'll kick it off with our school age. We've really had to pivot and done a lot about thinking about what childcare support do families need, and also how do we support staff. Childcare workers are really some of the most unheralded people out in the field, providing childcare for families and taking care of children, and want to really recognize the effort they're providing in our communities to provide that care. But we are really focused on providing all-day care. We've been figuring out how to provide childcare in this COVID time since schools closed in mid-March, and we've learned a lot. We are really rigorous about following public health guidelines to keep kiddos and staff safe. And we're going to be running 19 locations across the city this fall, which is 550 slots for childcare that will operate 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And in Southeast and Central Seattle, we're going to have programs at Rainier Beach, Rainier, Garfield, Van Asselt, and Yesler community centers. And we've created some options. We know that what's really important to families right now is to have flexibility. And so families can register their kids for Tuesday, Thursdays, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or 5 days a week if they need it. And we also know that this is a huge financial burden on families to have to pay for childcare. So we can provide up to 90% scholarships for families to be in the programs, which is about a cost of $169 a month for full-time care. And families that can qualify up to a 50% scholarship, making $103,000 household income a year. So we're really trying to make it accessible. We accept DCYF Working Connections subsidies. So if families qualify for that, they can also register in our programs. And the most important thing is our programs have been restructured to make sure we can support children in accessing and getting as much out of the virtual learning opportunities that will be offered by Seattle Public Schools, as well as other school districts and other schools that are in our Seattle community.
You know what? Let's talk a little bit about the folks may not be aware. They may be thinking, why is Seattle Parks and Rec on a conversation where we're talking about childcare, early learning, but talk a little bit about the program that you have in the morning, what it used to look like before COVID, and what that's going to look like now, because you had I don't know if childcare, obviously that may be one thing, but do you have a program for kids before school?
We did before and after school. Those programs are really focused on helping kids finish their homework, so parents don't have to take care of that when they get home from those programs, but also really focused on enrichment and recreation and the social emotional well-being of kids. We're really pivoting to really be intentional about providing those learning supports, especially in the morning part of our programs, supporting kids accessing their virtual learning. All of our facilities have Wi-Fi access. We'll work with families if they don't yet have a device provided by Seattle Public Schools to make sure that gets issued to their children. And we have staff that are ready to support kids in that learning process, as well as making sure we don't lose sight of the youth development piece and this critical social emotional connections that kids need to have as part of their holistic development right now.
And Lori, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Is that we know, especially at the earlier age, and Dwane and I were just talking about that, how important it is. And we're not just talking about, numbers and ABCs, but the social part that goes along with that, and the interaction. And with COVID, and with keeping there was a stop before that kids, for some reason may not get this. We know now the new studies and growing evidence show that children are not immune to COVID-19, and as a matter of fact, they may be, able to spread this at a higher rate. Again, we're still figuring things out, but some of the things that we thought before don't match up with the science that we're learning as this continues to unfold. So what's going on now with the morning program, and how are you guaranteeing, and maybe you can't guarantee, maybe that's not the right word, but what will you say to parents to ensure, hey, if your child is attending, things are going to be safe, they're going to be okay, and we're doing what we can to prevent the spread of COVID-19?
Yeah, thank you. It's so important right now. I know parents first and foremost want their kids to be safe and healthy, and we are as committed as parents to achieving that. What I can say is, since we've been operating childcare since mid-March, we have not had one confirmed case of COVID-19 with any participant in any of our childcare programs. We are very diligent about extra sanitizing. Our staff and participants wear masks at all times while they're in program. We do wellness screenings, and we only allow participants and staff to enter our buildings to minimize exposures. And we can't ever guarantee that someone may not become ill, but we are committed and faithful to all of the efforts being made to keep people as safe as possible, while still providing that opportunity for kids' social emotional development as well as their academic learning.
All right. And Damien, I wanted to go ahead. Maybe you were about to chime in anyway.
No, go ahead. I'll wait till after Damien.
Oh, okay. Damien, let me bring you into this conversation. Again, things changed. How has this impacted you, the programs that you operate? And moving forward, what does that look like for you?
Well, fortunately, when things shifted, we are used to coming from the cuff, and we were able to adjust and go with the virtual platform that was needed to continue to serve our students as best as possible. As we go into this school year, this fall, we will actually be standing up some limited in-person opportunity for teens in grades 6 through 12 to come and get basic in-person academic support. In addition to that, they'll get access to limited enrichment and recreation activities and be able to continue the work that we've been doing with our culturally based mentoring programs. We will have 7 sites that will stand up for this effort. Specifically in Central and South Seattle, we'll be at Garfield Teen Center and Miller Community Center, and then South Lake High School and Southwest Teen Life Center to provide these services for youth. Throughout the city, we'll be able to serve approximately 200 students at any given time to maintain the social distancing guidelines that are mandated to us, with services being offered Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4:30.
And uh, how do the student scholars find out about the programs that are available? How do parents find out about the programs that are available? How do you sign up? Obviously, there used to be the opportunity for open house and a number of different ways to engage folks. How are you handling that now?
So thankfully, with our great partnership with Seattle Public Schools, principals will be able to assist us in getting this communication out to parents. So some information should be going out early next week on how to properly sign up. If any parents out there are familiar with Seattle Parks and Recreation programs, we have a system called ActiveNet, which you can typically register for programs and activities. They will still use that same platform to sign up for these programs, so that we have access to who they are. Every student will have to be registered for these activities. There will be no drop-in activities going on in order for us to maintain safe boundaries, and not over exceed ourselves with the number of students that are in buildings based on capacity.
Okay, and again, how does that registration work?
That registration, very convoluted. So there's an online registration portion. For those who are unable to access online registration, there will be some phone numbers provided for them to call, and we can get them registered, as well as, if needed, we have translators available to speak with those who speak different languages.
Okay, and what are those numbers?
Those phone numbers at the very moment, Garfield Teen Life Center and South Lake High School are two that are currently not open at the moment. So they would reach 206, call directly to me, 206-423-1476, and we will get them to the right people to take care of that registration process.
Give me that number one more again. I'm going to give people a second here to grab a pen or sit their computer so that they can get this number, because you're going to have to be registered. That's critical. No drop in. And you need to have, if you don't have access or whatever, that number again, Damien?
206-423-1476, and I'll guide you to the right direction so you can get properly registered.
Okay, Dwane, I know you've been trying to get in here too. Here's your
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk about what you're actually talking about now from the Seattle Preschool program. I wanted to share, and I think it's perfect alignment, that on Monday we're going to have a live Q&A for parents, a parent event, and it'll be on WebEx. So our Seattle Preschool provider staff and providers will answer questions about what parents can expect from the Seattle Preschool program this fall. And information can be found about that at the Seattle Deal's website, or they can go to our Facebook or Twitter. But really, if folks needed to send us an email for information, it's preschool@seattle.gov, or for a phone number, it's 206-386-1050. And what I'll do is make sure that we get you, Tony, the information to share, where you can put it up on your Facebook page and all your handles, so parents can actually have an opportunity to see, what information is needed to attend the in-live event. And I also wanted to share that, and I know time is running out, and I don't mean to hog up the airtime, but I just want to share with you and let families know that if they're looking for preschool for their 3 or 4-year-old, they can check out the seattle.gov/apply SPP, and that'll be more information. Or if they're looking for in-person preschool in the Southeast Seattle, they should check out Children's Home Society or Genesee Early Learning Center for that. And that is for in-person preschool. And if they're looking for remote free family-directed preschool, both Seed of Life and SPS are great options. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that information with you.
Let's share information about what we're doing here in South Seattle. You know I love that. We're going to do this in reverse order. We're almost out of time here, and it just seems like we just got started. Thank y'all for providing this great information. I want to give everybody a chance here for final words. Damien, I'm going to start with you this time. We'll work backwards. Anything that you want to say here for about 30, 45 seconds about the program, to the community, just the floor is yours right now. Damien?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Thought I was unmuted there. Ultimately, our biggest goal is to make sure that we provide those who are the furthest away from educational justice with opportunity. Opportunity not only for academic support, but to engage with each other. This remote learning environment is new, it's challenging, and some people need to have that positive energy and peers and colleagues around them in order to get it done. So ultimately, that's our main goal. Other than that, we'll have a lot of information coming out through the principals. They can contact me if they need to.
All right. Thanks, Damien, and thanks for what you do. And Lori, opportunity for final words here. And thank you for what you do as well. So whether it be just commentary on Parks and Rec, the programs you have, or just anything you want to say to the community or parents right now.
I think the most important thing I want to say is, first and foremost, Seattle Parks and Recreation is here to serve families as well as work hand in hand with families to support their children through this unprecedented pandemic. We really want to be collaborators with families to ensure that the opportunity gap doesn't expand during this crisis, and that particularly our kids of color are supported and have the community's arms around them. The other thing I wanted to say real quick is childcare registration is currently open, and families can go to www.seattle.gov/parks, and they can click on the register link and register for programs online. And they can also call any of the community centers in Southeast Seattle. Staff are available at those facilities and can help families register and assist families if they are interested in applying for a scholarship. We want to be there for you, South Seattle.
And the morning program is not there anymore. Is that correct? The early morning program? Or is that still available?
That's correct. We transitioned the program to be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so that early morning part, I think it was what, 6 to 8 or something like that, or 7 to 9?
6 to 8 has gone away for now, but we'll also track what Seattle Public Schools is doing, and we'll continue to adjust what we offer to best support families based on what school is being offered.
All right, and thanks, Lori. Thanks for what you do.
Thanks, Tony.
And now we're going to end up where we started with Mr. Dwane Chappelle. Dwane, opportunity for final words here.
Yes. So in closing, we know this is going to be a unique school year, and the city of Seattle and the Department of Education and Early Learning is working extremely hard to continue to provide important, high-quality education programming to our preschoolers. And just a few things I wanted families to know is that that preschool, Seattle preschool program is right now open for enrollment. Their Seattle preschool providers will be operating under 3 program models: 100% remote, in person, or a hybrid. And remote learning program learning will be free for families. Tuition will be 50% off normal rates for the in-person and hybrid models. And we want families to know that we care about and value our young, brilliant scholars, and we're going to make sure that they're going to be safe, and we'll be following the public health guidelines. So just really wanted to also thank you for giving us this opportunity to just showcase how we're wrapping our arms around all of our Seattle youth, especially those furthest from educational justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chappelle, and thanks again to Damien Hicks, Lori Chisholm, as well, for joining us on the program. That's it. That's about all the time that I have.